Hi everyone and welcome back to Rachel's Enchanting Cakes. For this week's tutorial I'm going to be showing you just how quick and easy it is to make your own realistic fondant rose. Everything you need to know as always in a simple step-by-step format. Let's make a start. To make this super easy I am using some of Katie Sue's Flower Pro molds. You want to start by making the cone for the centre of the rose. Here I am doing a large cone, so I simply apply a small ball of Saracino modelling paste directly to the cone and push it in firmly. Taking an 18 gauge wire and some florist tape, start by wrapping this from the base all the way up to the end. Once you get to the top, make sure the flower tape is hanging about half a centimetre off and wrap around roughly 10 times. You then want to bend this over to create a hook and again wrap your florist tape around, but a bit more this time, about 20 times. This will allow it to look like a bud just on the end and it will support it much better once it's dried and set inside the thorn. Apply this to your cone with some edible glue before releasing it from the mould. Leave to one side to set and then repeat this process for however many roses you are wanting to make. Finally, repeat that process with the mould to create the actual bud. You then want to add some edible glue, and once you have left the other halves to set for a good 2 to 3 hours, simply place this directly on top, push down, gently remove from the mould and just smooth it over. Leave these overnight before you start to make your roses. Here I have the 5 petal rose cutters set of 3 by Katie Sue, and I'm going to be using the 90mm one for the large bud. I have used a pasta machine to get it this thin, however it is not necessary. If you do have a pasta machine, start at setting 3 and then gradually go up to setting 6. You then want to cut out some of the roses and you can either place them under cling film, or I have a little set here that I place mine in just to protect it from the air so that they don't dry on you. Again, I'm using Saracino modelling paste. This makes making roses super easy and effective, the ultimate petal viner. This will have 2 parts in there and it will have a sequence on so you know which petal to pick up and at what stage. It will also leave a lovely detailed effect on the actual rose. Again, this is by Katie Sue. You will need 4 petal cutouts for each rose. Start by placing it on the viner and then simply take the other piece, align it up and gently push down with your fingers. This will leave the beautiful detailed indentations behind. Place this on a former and then simply use a ball tool just around the ends of each petal. Place this straight back onto the viner and there is a hole directly in the centre where you simply push the cone through. You then want to do your sequencing. So you start where it says number 1 and you follow it by first of all lifting petal 1, then petal 3, petal 5, petal 2 and petal 4. It will guide you on this so you can't forget, and you simply follow this. I'm choosing to use edible glue, and then we will add 1 more layer and allow this to set again overnight. We now simply repeat that process with layer 2. Again, this is petal 1, petal 3, petal 5, petal 2 and petal 4. You can't go wrong. This piece of equipment, it's the first time I've used it. It makes things so simple, really easy, and then you just want to leave these overnight to set and repeat this for all the other rose cones that you have made. Okay, so the centers are lovely and set, and for the 3rd layer you simply want to do it in this sequence: petal 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now with these ones, because we're not in the centre, I'm wanting them to be more open at the top. So I don't place edible glue quite as far up the rose, and I concentrate and focus just on the base. This part is about getting it looking right. And finally, with the last rose that we have, we want to use the sequins petal 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 again. This is then left to dry upside down for another 24 hours. Personally, I think the roses look beautiful just like that, but I am just going to add a little bit of a finishing touch using this set by Katie Sue. I add a small amount of icing sugar to the mould before applying a small amount of green Saracino modelling paste. I did colour this myself. I then release this directly from the mould onto some kitchen roll before dusting it down with a 100% edible colouring dust. This part isn't essential, so don't worry if you don't have any, but it will add just a little bit more colour and texture. Finally, taking your set rose that you have left overnight, start by applying some edible glue directly to the base. You then want to line this up and simply push it down very carefully over the top. Try to keep it central, and then we'll just use some extra edible glue to push those leaves down slightly, but you just want to bend each one up. I have never found it so easy to make such an effective, completely edible rose. This equipment was amazing. Now, I've had it in my collection for a while and I've just not got round to using it. I really do wish I had had this when I'd made some of the massive wedding cakes that had hundreds of roses on them. Just look how simple that was. It looked so effective when it was done, and bear in mind I didn't add any colour dusts to the actual rose. So if you were to do a pink rose, you could use a slightly darker pink and then add that to the rose as well, just to make it even more beautiful. You then simply want to add the ball that came with the mould as well directly to the base. There's all sorts of thorns in this collection. I had a little bit of dust just to the inside, but you do have to be slightly careful with that because you don't want to end up with any of the green dust directly on the rose, and just keep on neatening it up. It really is as simple and as easy as that. Happy baking, everyone. I really do hope I've helped you again today, and I'll be back soon with more new content.